Good afternoon, fellow viewers. Welcome back to Easy Mathematics. Today, we want to look at multiplication. And under multiplication, we want to look at multiplying decimals with numbers like 10, 100, and 1,000. So, I want to look at products of decimals. So, let's say we have to find 0.25 times 100. When you have to multiply 102.25 times 100, what do you have to do? If you want to multiply these numbers, 102.25 times 100. Now when you look at this number, this is a decimal number and this is a whole number. So either we change the decimal into whole number, then we multiply with a whole number 100. So because there is a decimal point here, let's take off the decimal point. If we take off the decimal point, you are going to get a whole number as 10,225 times 100. Now remember, when we took the decimal point, there were two numbers after the decimal point. So that should be at the back of our mind. So now let's multiply this number times 100. Now, this number times 100 is a huge number. To make it simple for you, cover the 2 at the back of the 1. So if you cover the 2, you are left with 1. Then we'll ask ourselves, this number times 1 is what? The law says every whole number times 1 or every number times 1 is the number. So if I multiply this number times 1, I am going to get the same number. But remember that the number wasn't 1, the number was 100. And we covered 2 zeros. So these 2 zeros, we will write them here, indicating or showing that 10,225 times 100 will give me 1,022,500. So this number times 100 is this. But remember, there was a decimal point, but we took off the decimal point. How many numbers were after the decimal point? 2 numbers. So your final answer, you should make sure that there should be 2 numbers after a decimal point. So I'm going to start from the 0. 1, 2. I'll bring my point here. And this number 0.00 is the same as this. So that means 102.25 times 100 will give me this as my answer. Let's look at number 2. We have 87 times 10. We have to multiply 102.87 times 10. So what do I have to do? Take off the decimal point from the decimal number. So if I take the decimal point, I'll be having this times 10. Because this is 10, I'll cover the 0 and I'm left with 1. This number times 1 will give me the same number. How many zeros? 1 0. So I'll bring my 0 there. Or you can choose to multiply using the normal method in multiplication. Now, if you finish multiplying, ask yourself this question. When you took off the decimal point, how many numbers were after the decimal point? We had 1, 2. 2 numbers. So this being your answer, you make sure that there should be also 2 numbers at the back. 1, 2. So I'll bring my point here. So that means 102.87 times 10 will give me 1,028.70 or 0.7. So when you are being asked to multiply a decimal by 10, by 100 or 1,000, just take the decimal away, multiply, and write your answer down. Now let's look at the last one. Let's say we have 381.56. Multiplying this by, let's say, 1,000. So you are going to multiply 381.56 times 1,000. What do I have to do? I'm going to take off the decimal point. So I'll get 38156 times 1,000. Cover the 3 zeros, and you have this times 1. This times 1 will give me 38156. The zeros here are 3, so 1, 2, 3. Then what do I have to do? When you look at the number, there are 2 numbers after the decimal point that we took. So you have to make sure that these 2, there will be 2 numbers after the decimal point. So I'm going to have 1, 2. My point will be here. So this gives me an answer 381,560.00. Or you can leave your answer like this. And this becomes the answer for this times this. Now still under multiplication, let's look at how to multiply using half and double. If we are to multiply and we are using half and double, when we say half is to divide the number by 2. When we say double, multiply the number by 2. So if we are to use half and double method, let's say we are using half and double method to multiply 2 times 13. Because we are using half and double, we'll use the 2 at once. Use half at the same time, use double. Now, when you look at the numbers, ask yourself, which number can I find its half? And which number can I also double? If you look at this, if I want to find the half of this number, I'll get 1. But if I want to find the half of this number, I'm going to get a decimal. So when you want to look for the half, make sure that the number will give you a whole number. So I'll double the 2, and I'll half the 2, and I'll double the 13. So half of 2 is 1 times double of 13 will give me 26. Then I'll rather multiply 1 times 26, giving me 26 as my final answer. When you multiply 2 times 13, you are going to also get 26. But the method is use half and double. So if you are to use half and double, then that is what we are going to do. Example 2, still under half and double. I have 5 times 30. 5 times 30. I'm to use half and double. You are using the 2 at the same time. So look at the numbers. Which one can you half and you get the whole number? If I look at the 5, if I want the half of 5, I'll get 2.5. So I don't have to use 5. Let me see the 30. If you find the half of 30, you get 15. And 15 is a whole number. So I'll rather double the 5 and I'll half the 30. So the double of 5 will give me 10. Times the half of 30 will give me 15. Then I'll multiply 10 times 15. If I cover the 0, I have 1 times 15. And any number times 1 is the number. So 15. And I'll just bring my 0, giving me 150 for my answer. So when you're being asked to use the half and double method to do multiplication, that is how you are going to do it or solve the question. Let's try the next one. We have 9 times 10. You are multiplying 9 times 10 using half and double. If you are to use half for 9, half for 9 will give me 4.5. So I don't want to have 9. But let me see, if I'm to have 10, if I have 10, I'll get 5. So I have to double 9 and half 10. So double of 9 will give me 18. Half of 10 will give me 5. Now, if I take my time and do my multiplication, I am going to get 18 times 5 as 90. So, you have 5 times 8 is 40, so 0. Remainder 4. 5 times 1 will give me 5, plus my remainder 4 will give me 90. So, 18 times 5 gives me 90. Let's look at the fourth one. We have 22 times 3. We are using half and double. If I want the half of 22, it will give me a whole number. So half of 22 is 11. Times, since I have used half for 22, I have to use double for 3. So double of 3, that means 3 multiplied by double. Double is 2. So 3 multiplied by 2 gives me 6. Or the double of 3 is 6. Then I'll therefore multiply 11 times 6. You recite your 11 times table, 11 6 will give you 66. So if you have to use the half and double method, we are going to get 66 for this one. So when we say half divided by 2, double multiplied by 2. So you are going to choose which number should I use for my half and which number should I use for my double. Still under multiplication. Now let's look at multiplying or multiply using distributive property. So we can be asked to multiply two numbers using a distributive property. Now when it comes to the distributive property, it says that A into bracket, let's say plus B, is the same as use A to multiply B and use the same A to multiply C. So because they are alphabets, A times B will give me AB. The sign here is addition. So A times C also gives me AC. So this is the distributive property. Or we can also say that A into bracket B minus C. This times this will give me AB. The sign is minus. Then we also use the same A to multiply C, giving me AC. So we want to look at how to use the distributive property to multiply given numbers. Let's say we have 23 times 5. Or see, the person said use the distributive property. But here it is asking us to use half and double. So if you have to use half and double, you go by this. But if you have to use distributive property, then let's see what you are going to do. Now, look at the one with the 2 digits, 23. Split these two numbers in a way that when you add the two numbers, you get 23. Or when you want to use subtraction, split it in a way that when you finish subtracting, you get 23. So let's say I want to use addition. I can say that 20 plus 3 will give you 23. So I'll put this one in a bracket. Times my 5. This is the same as this. So the 5 will multiply 20. The 5 will also multiply 3. And you put them together. So I'm going to say 20 multiplying 5. And 3 also multiplying 5. The sign between them is plus. So I'll bring my plus here. Then I'll multiply 20 times 5. 20 times 5 will give me 100. Plus 3 times 5 will give me 15. Because 3, 5, 15. Now, when you look at it carefully, I now have 100 plus 15. 100 plus 15 will give me 115, making 115. Now, if you multiply this times this direct, you're also going to get the same thing. But what we should notice is that, what is the question asking us to do? The question is asking us to use the distributive property. So we'll go by the property. Let's look at number 2. We have 56 times 4. 56 times 4. We are using the distributive property. So split the 56 in a way that when you put them together or when you subtract, you get 56. I want to go by this way. 50 plus 6 times 4. So the 4 will multiply 6 and the 4 will also multiply 50. So I'm going to say 50 times 4 in one bracket. 50 times 4. The sign between them is plus. Then 6 times 4. 50 times 4. 5 4 is 20. So we bring our 0. So 50 times 4 gives us 200. Plus 6 4 is 24. Then we therefore had 200 plus 24, giving us 224. Let's look at the last example under this. Let's say we have 3 times 48. We are still using the distributive property. So when you look at this, I have 2 negatives here. So I'll split the 2 negatives so that at the end I will get 48. This time I want to use subtraction. So I have 3 times, I can say 50 minus 2. 50 minus 2 will also give me 48. So what do I do next? I will split my numbers. 3 will multiply 50. This same 3 will multiply 2. So I'm going to get 3 times 50. The sign is minus. Then I'll use the 3 to multiply 2. 3 times 50 will give me 150. 3 to 6. Now I'll just subtract 6 from 150. Now when you take 6 from 150, you are going to get 144. So this means 3 times 48, using the distributive property, we have 44. And if you have to multiply 3 times 48 direct, you also get 44. So this is how you multiply decimals by numbers at 10, 100, 1,000. And if you are being asked to use the half and the double system or method, you just half one number by dividing by 2, double the other by multiplying by 2. Then you go for it to multiply. But we are being asked, when you are being asked to use the distributive property, then you have to split the one with the 2 digits. Make sure that whatever you split, at the end it should give you this. Either you use addition or subtraction, then you get your answer. Thank you for staying tuned. See you God willing next week, Friday. Bye-bye.